Hi guys, you have been waiting for it. So yes, here we are, teardown of the Thomson-CSF military computer. So first, some general information. The case is entirely made of solid aluminium with seals everywhere. It must be almost watertight. It is why we have so many screws everywhere. We have here the gummy keyboard. This one is damaged, the space bar is coming off, and we can see under it the silver contacts. It is a backlit keyboard with a green light, but I was not able to find how to turn it permanently. The mouse controller here, I had to clean it. It is why the Windows was making weird things. It is because the contacts were in shortcuts, both click buttons were in shortcut because of dirt inside, carbon dirt. But the mouse controller was working. There is a dent here in the case. So everything is made of die-cast aluminium. We have 4 main parts. There is of course the display assembly. There is the top case which holds the mouse controller and the keyboard. There is the bottom plate which is holding the motherboard and the drives. And we have at the back the back plate which is holding the connectors and the power supply converter, which is a DC to DC power supply. It is why we have heat sinks here. So what we will do, we will start by having a look at the BIOS. Then we will have a look at the stuff on the side here, and I will remove the back panel to have a look inside with the power supply converter, then inside the display, and we will finish with the main unit. A quick look at the information in the BIOS. We have Intel 486DX2 at 50 MHz processor. We have 8 MB of RAM, and we have the system ID number here, 11BD6A, and total operating time of 4,552 hours. I do not know how many hours is the other system. And here we can see information about the 2 internal drives. There is a SanDisk 20 MB, which is the flash drive, and the main hard drive is 360 MB IBM. And there is nothing else to see in the BIOS. Here is the keyboard lighting up for a second at the power on. As you can see, it is very short. I do it again. But sadly, I was not able to find how to turn it on permanently. So here on the side we have a system for securing the screen. In fact, you can see this curved piece, metal piece in the screen. And we have this thing which looks like a connector cap, but in fact it is just a screw, like so, which will press. There is this bolt here which is screwed to the main case, and it will press on this piece and it will secure the screen in any given position. We have here the on-off button, which is just a momentary button, and we have this cap here. It is a plastic cap, and it is covering a recessed bolt, very deep, which must be for taking apart the screen hinge. There is not the same thing at the other side. It is just a metal pin. You cannot do anything with it. But here there is what seems to be a 10 mm bolt inside this hole, and you can see the solid aluminium all around it. Here we have a cover for the floppy drive and the PC card readers. We have 2 PC card slots, or PCMCIA. The floppy disk is a slim floppy disk as in laptops. In fact, I'm sure you will see like there, and at the bottom we have the two PC card slots. So this is a standard laptop floppy drive, it seems. And here in the cover we have interesting information. Not sure if it is the serial numbers, it is upside down for you, but serial numbers of all the different parts and modification status maybe. You can see just this cover is already solid aluminium, machined in a block of aluminium with O-ring here for water tightness, it seems. A look at the back panel before I remove it. So to remove it you have to undo all the screws all around. These 4 screws here in the heatsink are for the DC to DC power converter. Here we have a manufacturer label with the serial number and modification stamp. I will zoom in for you on it. Excuse me, like so. So it is called remote computer or PC déporté in French. Serial number 1012. The other one I have is 1055. Date code of 98 here and model number from Thales. Modification label here, which is not filled. So about the connectors, we have the main power supply unit here, well, power supply connector. If you wonder, you have to apply positive voltage on A and B pins and negative ground on C and D. So what I did do to power it on, as I was not able to find, of course, a matching connector, I found female contacts from a scrap connector which were the correct diameter. So I did solder them to wires with heat shrink. So in fact it allows me to insert them like this. It is not really well secured because they can pull out quite easily, but at least it was enough for using the PC if you do not move it. And I use all the 20 volts 6 amperes laptop power supply, and it was working quite well. So we have this connector for power supply. We have this one which is called PC set with a lot of contacts, maybe 50, and this one which is called COM. So I know from the motherboard you have serial, parallel and VGA ports which I wired to one of these connectors, not sure which one. We have a ground connector here, and here we have a very weird network connector. It might be twin axe, but as you can see it is not the regular twin axe connector. If you know what it looks like, it is not this. It is a very uncommon BNC connector with 2 contacts. I did find photos of BNC connectors with 2 contacts, but they are not like this. There is one male and a female contact in it, but not here. There are 2 female contacts. So far I did search and I was not able to find the name of this plug. Sadly, because it prevents me to connecting it to the network and maybe going onto the web with this. Okay, so about these connectors, I know that for removing the circuit board inside I will need to remove the bolts here around. So it is quite weird when, for taking apart a computer, you go in your stock of tools, you take the bigger wrench you will find, which is 44 millimeters, and it is still not big enough. So for this it was working in 30 millimeters, but I had no enough room to use the tool, and it was sliding. So what I had to do, it was to use this kind of pliers, adjust them on the nut, because they are in fact very tight. So I did spray the nuts with the bolts here with WD-40 first, and I did all these pliers very strongly and use a big screwdriver as a lever. and I was able to unlock them. I will undo one for you now. They are not tight now, so it is much easier. And here you have the connector cover. Just this thing is already very expensive. Okay, now I will remove this back panel and we will have a look at the power supply circuitry. Okay, the screws are off. Oh, by the way, the only tool you will really need as a screwdriver to take apart this computer is the number 1 posi drive. So it is coming off, and I have a whole bunch of wires. There is the seal also. So there is ribbon cable for the communications port here. And I have a few connectors for the power supply. Last one is the network, but it is back here. So here we are. As you can see, very serious construction everywhere. Look at the thickness here. O-ring around this part, which is coming off, by the way. Quite annoying. And we have power supply cable, auxiliary cable for the power supply. One more, maybe for this one is actually the on-off switch. And the 2 plugs for the communications ports. And here is what we have, but in fact most of electronics is at the other side. So I will put the camera overhead and we will have a look at this. So here is the back panel assembly. You can see we have only one PCB, but in 2 sections. This is communications and video output, it seems. The back side of the wired BNC connector going directly to the SMC 9000 network card. Some quality stamp here you can barely see. The O-ring is some kind of gummy, foamy, blue O-ring, quite unusual. And here we have the power supply section. The main power input connector is here. You have here pins, female pins soldered to fit the legs of the main DC-DC converter, which is under it. There is some kind of configuration jumper here. MOSFETs, capacitors, and MCD. I will try to zoom a little bit on it. MCD, a little DC to DC converter brick. It is not the main one, by the way. It is better if you power the camera so the battery does not get empty. So we have here what seems to be a little temperature sensor, drop thing, kind of component, very small. And now if I lift carefully this PCB, oops, carefully I said, we have the main stuff. So main DC to DC power converter, which is attached to the heatsink on this side with these 4 screws, and there is probably thermal compound. Here is information for you. Model number and made in USA. Some fiber epoxy box. You can see the very serious die-cast metal construction on this part. This is die-cast, but all the other parts seems to be machined aluminum. Okay, and here you have the connectors. You can see O-rings on the connectors, the same blue material. And here is how I was able to figure out the pinout. It is quite simple. You have this fuse and this big diode, which is clearly written anode and cathode. So there is a reverse power protection diode. And this must be some kind of inductor, noise suppression inductor probably. And a Philips 105 degrees electrolytic capacitor, 37 microfarads. Totally not military quality, this thing. Not a bad capacitor, but I do not like very much Philips. It seems the capacitors are not bad, but I already had problems with Philips capacitors, so I am not very confident. And also you can see it is a little bit moving around. They did not put any glue or anything on it to secure it. Quite thick tracks at this level. And here are the power supply converter tracks. So here we are for this back panel. So I will put it back in place and we will now have a look at the screen. So we have the screen here with only 2 screws left. There is an aluminium bezel all around. The glass here seems to be plexiglass actually, no glass. We have our LED indicators here. And it is interesting to note how thick is this screen. Maybe 3 centimeters here at the back. So maybe we will have something unexpected inside. Let me finish. I need to undo the part on the side here a little bit because it is in the way to actually remove the frame of the screen. So 1 screw, second screw. As we can expect, we will find O-ring all around. Here is what it looks like. So here we have a small circuit board with just the LED status indicators. Nothing interesting, but it is in the way a little bit. So I will try to manage it like this. So we have our main screen assembly, and it is mounted on to an aluminium frame, aluminium plate, as you can see, with other stuff here. In fact, we have Teflon insulators and something mounted at the back, and temperature sensors. So I know what we have at the back. We will have an heater element, a PCB heater or something like this. PCB tracks heating the whole display assembly to allow it working by cold weather. So very serious shielded cables here coming from the main unit. Here also. So here we have a little DC to high voltage converter for the backlight. And I will first undo the screen assembly itself, so it may allow to find which manufacturer it is. But it is connected with these very delicate little plugs here onto a flat flex. So I have to be particularly careful. So thankfully I have nails, and even not everybody loves to see me having nails, but it is very convenient for this kind of work. Okay, we have a ground wire here. We have 4 more posi drive screws. So I try to be quick. They are not very strongly attached, these ones, it seems. So I believe we will have probably a sharp display or something like this. We will just find out in 1 second if there is anything written on it. Not sure. Okay. So here it comes. Yes. It's a win. Sharp LQ10 D361, made in Japan. TFT active sharp. It is written here on the flat flex. And you can see quite a lot of electronics in this one. We have this flat flex is actually plugged in here. So this is already, no, it is a sharp piece. So probably you can find them in laptops of era. A lot of electronics in this, and of course called cathode backlight. So I put this aside at a safe location, if possible. And now, this backplate, as you can see, we have 4 more screws, and we have these connections here which are soldered. Here you cannot undo them easily. I will try to zoom in for you, like so. So let me undo the 4 screws, and I will try to flip the thing around in a way it is possible for you to see what we have at the back. Maybe not really easy. Okay, so it should flip around like this. And what do we have here? You can see, so first the back of the display case here. Very strong die-cast aluminium it seems, with some numbers written in it. So here we have this aluminium plate with a piece of foam, 4 wires connected on it, and if I try to lift a little bit the foam, as you can see, we have a wall, a flat flex PCB with a lot of tracks in a complicated pattern. I can unglue it a little bit more. As you can see, to hit the wall area of the screen. So it is just a heater, and here we have some insulating foam because if it is used in a cold environment, this side here at the top will probably be pretty cold, so you want to protect, at least insulate a little bit. So it is why they did put the foam here, so it will keep the heat at the correct side. And you can see the very serious wires here. Let me try to zoom for you on it, like so. Very serious wiring clamp, the 3 little wires for the display, and lots of zip ties. Thin copper sleeve everywhere. So just for here we have a number of wires. In fact, the gray one is the main one, and the 2 others here are going to the other side for the power supply of the inverter and the LEDs, status LEDs here. Okay, about the status LEDs, I guess they are just, yes, regular 3mm LEDs. White body LEDs, clear body, but just regular LEDs. And you can note there is a little aluminium piece glued on the glass here to allow securing the LEDs with 2 standoffs and 2 screws. Okay, so I think it is good for this part. I will put the screen back together, and now we will have a look at the main unit. So the computer is upside down, all the screws of the bottom plate are off, so I can lift it. It is much easier without the back panel installed. You have to lift it in 2 times because there is a connector in the way here, and you have to clip it like so, with a lot of cables remaining in the way. As you can see, I need to figure out something to lift it a little bit, so you can see how it comes apart. So let me install the camera over in. So first you have to undo the floppy disk connector. Try to, at least. I have to lift a little lever, maybe like so, get this out of the way. The goal is to remove this complete frame here. You have to disconnect everything here on the side. I want you to see the pain it was to swap the memory modules between the 2 computers. You have to remove one more flat flex here, going to the motherboard. Auxiliary power connectors here for, I believe this one is for the hard drive heater, and this one is for the little fan. Big interconnect here for data, probably, to this assembly. There is one chip here, so first I will remove, it is optional, but I will undo this network board in order to see what we have under it. You can see it is connected with this big header. Will it come? Yes, very slowly. Okay, like so. And there is an interesting magnetics hybrid module by Bell, as always, onto Ethernet cards. Crystal oscillator by Ecliptech on SMC main chip. Provision for boot ROM, it seems, here. So quite a weird part. At the bottom we have ST62T Q5B6 chip, whatever it is. Little buzzer. Okay, now I can continue. Undo power supply. Get this out of the way. Two at least. One more flat flex going to the motherboard. And it is not all. I have to undo the connectors here on the side. So for this, first you have to remove the connectors themselves, which are secured by screws. One more. Always do one more. Excuse me. Okay. Then try to disconnect the plugs, which have very short wires passing underneath the motherboard. This one is correct hard. And very short wire. Okay. And now it is not all. We have to remove the standoffs. Yes. So I will release, not the correct size. I will release the tightness and then I will undo them by hand. 6 of them. Last one. Very heavily golden gold plated connector. And by the way, as you can see maybe, Then unscrew all this. And it is not all. After this we have screws. Okay, now we are left with a number of screws to undo. One here, with washer, always include washers. One here at the back, one, if I remember correctly, is located here. It is not all, we have one here. And it is still not coming. No. Because why? There is one more here. Now maybe, yes, we have to unroute this wire here. Try to, and here we are. So this assembly has just the very generic TEAC floppy disk drive and this interconnect board. You can see there are spacers here made in solid aluminium, machined aluminium, just to keep some kind of contact to the memory in order to avoid having it moving too much. Quite amazing. So what do we have here? We have the PC card slots, parallel serial SCSI probably with, yes, Adaptec AIC 6360. Let me try to zoom now a little bit for you on the parts. So the processor is here underneath this heatsink. It seems very well attached, so I will probably not tamper it with it. Samsung 8 MB SIM stick. I have Xilinx, PTI, Xilinx, chips, chipset probably. This must be the connector, the video output connector, with accessory connector here probably for the display, the LED, status LEDs on the front. One more buzzer here, so we have two buzzers in this thing. Main connector here for the display. One more connector here. Not even sure where it is going to. Yes, it is going to the rear panel, so it is auxiliary power maybe. A few more things here with trimmed wires here. You can see they did only keep two connectors, two wires populated on this header, and they did cut all the other ones for some reason, like so. And the plastic is just, oh no, they are hinged. Wow, very nice quality here. So do we have any brand on this motherboard? I do not see anything. Maybe it is underneath this, but we know it is Contron, but there is no model number or anything you can see. Oh, here it is. Motherboard MIT SCSI. There is a sticker here at least with some information. Let me try to zoom on it for you. upside down otherwise. This one also. So a whole bunch of clips here. The memory stick. And it is almost everything for the motherboard. In fact, the big interconnect is here. Floppy is here. Interconnect to the overboard here. And it is interesting to note also we have two backup memories. We have this one which is very in bad condition, as you can see, doing white fluff. And we have another one here which is pretty thick and unusual package. I will try to remove it because it is a Dallas EC04. First time I see a battery like so, I believe. Quite a weird one, very thick, looks like a landmine. Not at all a regular battery, so very interesting. Here we have probably the BIOS flash chips, one unpopulated one here, and it is almost everything for this motherboard. What seems to be old school Philips capacitor here, and here we are for this. So I will reassemble this section and we will have a look at the hard drive. Okay, now we will have a look at the hard disk itself. Not that the hard disk is interesting, but what we have under it. So it looks like there was quite a design problem here because they had to use spacers under the hard disk screws. Not sure why. The hard disk screws were too long, it seems, or they wanted to keep some space between the hard disk and the flash drive. Maybe because of the heater we have. So one last. It is already disconnected. So it is a very standard regular OEM IBM drive. Yes, little spacers everywhere. So this is boring. But here we have the heater element made by Minco in 95, it seems. Wow, serial number 3. This is impressive. First, to put a serial number over a piece of flat flex. Secondly, to have a so little serial number. Okay, put this aside, and here we have our flash drive, which is mounted with very tiny screws onto an aluminium plate, probably for cooling purpose. Connected from the top here with this ribbon cable, and you know what, why not, as it is already a very long teardown video, why not try to unscrew this and have a look inside. So we have no heater for this particular part. This was probably extremely expensive back in the time, maybe even more expensive than the hard drive itself. 4 little screws. Here is the back side, no cover on the bad side, directly the circuits. Atmel SanDisk clip, some passives, some SanDisk here, and it looks like this is really not common. We have a slotted screw here. So let me see if I can find real quick a small screwdriver for it. It is not something you expect to find onto any Asian made computer device, a slotted screw. And oh, it is interesting, we have more grey foam, and here are our ships, and I was not expecting this at all, guys. They are mounted onto what seems to be a flex circuit board. They are mounted with this little, which is connected with this little header here, which I can totally undo. Here is the other side, so we have provision at the other side for more chips. Copyright of 1994 here by SanDisk Corporation. And we have these very weird chips. Contacts at only one side. Seems there are chips on board with, which are then covered with epoxy. So really, I was not expecting that. Very interesting. And here it seems there is a provision for putting one more layer, probably, of the same stuff. Really nice. So it is 20 megabytes, but with double layer, double board, you should go up to 80 megabytes probably. Really interesting, this thing. Okay, so and here is just the mounting plate for it. Quite solid aluminum plate, but nothing special. Okay, so I will put this back together and we will conclude the teardown with a look at the keyboard and the mouse controller. A little addition, I did just notice, it is written SanDisk on this side, and on this side it is written SanDisk, your regular SD card brand. So not sure if they did change the name in the way or what. SanDisk also on the chip here. So yes, maybe they did change of name somewhere between 1994 and 1995. Interesting. Okay, now the keyboard, it is ASK brand, as you can see here, with this model number. Here you can see it is through all components. Quite weird and unusual on a computer keyboard, except if you go onto very cheap Chinese desktop keyboards. So there is this plastic backplane here with lots of screws again on the seal all around. Unpopulated spots here. The connector going to the silver contacts layers of the keyboard itself, and we must have somewhere at the back some LEDs, in fact, for the backlight. So you know what, I am not at a few minutes of teardown, so maybe I can actually undo these nuts here and see what we have at the other side. Okay, it was just 10 nuts and washers. So we have main input connector here, and yes, surely enough, a whole bunch of LEDs behind this PCB. Quite amazing. It is sad I do not know how to turn them on. Surface mount LEDs. Quite dirty solder work here, by the way. So this is interesting. So the light of the keyboard will power itself on 1 second at power up of the device, and then I did try several keys on the keyboard and so on, it was not possible to have them turned on permanently. So I'm not sure what is going on. Maybe there is probably a trick, but I do not know it. Maybe with searching this model number here on Google, we could find something. So last part of the teardown is this box here, which is in fact the mouse device. So I did already take it apart because I had to clean the contacts. They were really dirty and they were not working anymore. But it was easier than expected, in fact. Just some cleaning and it was good to go. And they are not working correctly. When you have to use a socket to take apart. Computer, really. Okay. So, what do we have in here? Seems to be a regular piece that it use, but this is not regular from Asian computer manufacturer. Look at this box, pretty insane. 5 mm thick walls here of aluminium. Nice tool marks here from a mill probably. And we have this thing, which is made by Interlink Electronics, micromodule trademark, with this mouse and click buttons, a gummy thing here with 2 carbon contacts, and here are the parts I had to clean. The mouse part itself is under here, and it will not, if I unglue this, it will be destructive probably, so I will not do it. But you can see we have 4 wires going to it, so probably a regular, I guess it may be a regular PS2 mouse interface. Still a little bit dirty, but it is good enough for what it is. And there is another connector here for some options, it seems. Okay, so I guess this will conclude this teardown. Now I have to spend a few hours putting all that back together and also editing the video. I hope you did enjoy it, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more stuff. Bye bye.